So welcome to our lesson today, and I think we've already covered about buckwheat and the importance of sprouting. Today, Mercy and I are going to be sharing with you about quinoa, and this is another pseudoseed that we use quite a bit in our cooking and baking. And so we just wanted to get everybody familiar with quinoa. So I just wanted to show everybody what quinoa look like, and it's a tiny, tiny little seed. And the reason that I wanted to get everyone familiar with it is you want to learn how to wash it, as well as how to get rid of some of the rocks. You know, these grains, when we buy them, they're not totally free of sediment and dirt and that kind of thing. So apart from washing it, you know, you want to filter it and all of that. Now, it's really hard. How do you filter and wash your quinoa?
Or I just have a good strainer and I just wash it for a while. But some countries, it has a lot of sediment.
Yes.
So my mom does a little different. So she let it set the sediment down and pull the top one and keep doing that until she finds the sediment in the bottom.
Right.
But I haven't noticed as much here at all. I just strain it really well.
So it might depend on where your source of where you get your quinoa. And the other thing with strainers is you'll want to see that there is a difference between strainers as far as like how big the little holes are. And so if I were to put quinoa in here, you'll see that there's a lot of stuff that comes out of here, and some people might like that because you might get rid of some of the sediment, and you'll find that when you strain it into this one, this is a really fine one, it doesn't hardly get rid of anything at all. So I'm a little, you know, I go back and forth between these things. I want to get rid of as much dirt as I can. It's, you know, when you eat quinoa and you bite into a rock, it's not very pleasant, right? So, so this is some quinoa that we have soaked overnight, and it's going to, you know, get bigger as far as volume. And the other thing about this is that, you know, just as with the buckwheat, you know, we're going to use this for quinoa, for amaranth, for your grains, for your beans. You know, it's the same concept of soaking. And you can also sprout these. And so once we rinse these off, so I'm going to get rid of some of the water here, and we'll rinse these. So now that they've been rinsed, you might want to use a larger strainer, because then the plump quinoa is less likely to go through the holes of the strainer, right? Yeah. And so, but what Mercy was referring to as far as what her mother was doing, my mother does this too, is that when you're rinsing this, you'll carefully pour out the quinoa little by little, rinse more, and then what's left at the bottom a lot of times is the sediment. Is that what you're talking about, that your mom does? Yeah, so.
And also when she strains it, in the bottom is the sediment.
So when she puts it back into
and doesn't put the whole thing.
That's what my mother does too. So why don't we, I'll put it in here. I'm going to put this back here. I'm going to rinse this out, and just for the sake of demonstration, we'll just put it back in here, and we'll pretend that this is a pot that we're going to boil and get ready. Oh, you know, while we're at it, Mercy, how much water would you put in here to cook this?
If you do 1 cup of quinoa, it's 2 cups of water.
Okay, 1 cup of quinoa to 2 cups of water.
Same thing for the other ones.
Same thing for the other one.
Amaranth.
Okay, so buckwheat, amaranth, and quinoa are our 3 pseudoseeds that or pseudograins that we use during this time period. And so 1 cup of water, 2 cups of water to 1 cup of quinoa.
Yeah, amaranth might need a little more water, so you have to watch it if it's getting dry too fast.
Oh, okay,
but
right.
quinoa and buckwheat is always the same.
Yeah,
1 to 2.
amaranth, when you cook it, yeah, you do have to watch it
needs
quite a bit, right? Okay, so before we end, I just wanted to show you, so you're going to we get organic everything that we do, just because, you know, when you get your grains and your pseudo grains, a lot of times when they're harvesting, they're going to be using things like glyphosate to help their crop easier to harvest. And so we don't want any of that type of residue on our food. We get organic the best that we can. The other thing that you can do if you don't have the time to sprout your own quinoa, you can purchase it already sprouted. It is more expensive that way. And you can get sprouted quinoa flour as well. And so that's what these things are here
that makes it pretty easy. Yeah.
To do. Now, I thought one last thing that we can show is how to, Mercy, do you mind putting this out on the...
So we'll remove all the fluid.
Now, the thing with quinoa that you want to remember is that when you sprout quinoa, that if you wait too long, you don't want to sprout it for too long because it will actually start to smell a little sour, and some people don't like that smell.
So how long would you sprout the quinoa?
You know, I think everybody's different as far as like how quickly things sprout in their home and in that environment, but mine tends to be just a day, you know, maybe a 24-hour period of time. How about you?
We do maximum 2 days, because after 2 days it's gonna be bitter and smelly.
Yeah.
So 1 to 2 days I think it's great.
So that's what it looks like. We put it on some parchment paper so it doesn't fall through the little holes here, and that's how you'll put it into your dehydrator if you have one like ours. And this is what we do for quinoa, buckwheat, and are you doing this to any other things?
It's pretty much those two. Those two. You can do amaranth just to have it ready, make flowers if you want, but in general, it's just the quinoa and the buckwheat to make all kind of baking things.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, maybe for this lesson, you can get some quinoa, try soaking it, try sprouting it, and at least if you soak it overnight, you can go ahead and dehydrate it and then have it on hand for some flour for yourself. And what else would you use it for?
So for cereals, we just soaked overnight and just cook the cereal.
Yeah.
And for quinoa, when you do something like tabbouleh, we just soaked overnight, then roast it, and then make it as the tabbouleh dish. And also we do as kind of like a rice.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
okay, we're gonna do that in one of our recipes.
Yes.
So, but this would be good for if you wanted to have this on hand for some quinoa flour. So you just dehydrate it, and then you can put it in the fridge or the freezer, and then you have it ready if you want to process some flour. So try doing that. That's our lesson for today.